They just proved they're nothing but MSNBC light. That's all they are. There's no reason for the Young Turks to exist. We don't need another news organization to tell you to vote for Democrats. We already got CNN. We already have the New York Times. We already have MSNBC. We don't need one on YouTube. Okay, but we have a bunch of them, by the way. There's not just them. There's most of the shows who consider themselves lefty news shows are going to always tell you to vote Democrat on YouTube, which goes to show you they're not really left. There's no fucking left in America. When it comes down to clowns like me to carry the mantle and to keep people honest on the left, you know there's no left. And now the people who call themselves Democrats and think they're lefties, which you're not. If you're supporting Democrats, you're supporting a right-wing party. Just so you know, we have two right-wing parties in America. We need a left-wing one. So now they're upset about abortion, and they're going to judges' houses. So they went to Kavanaugh's house, Justice Kavanaugh, because, and they're protesting at his house over abortion. And here's what's happening. Ready? Here we go. I don't know what they're yelling. So, I don't know what the first thing was they were chanting, but they were chanting, and then they were also at, so that's right outside his house. And by the way, that's being organized by his neighbors. There's a neighbor, his neighbor is a woman who's organizing this. And by the way, the cops were there, and they didn't do anything that broke a law, I guess. So I guess they were peaceful, and so nobody got arrested. I guess that's what's happening. Because we know cops can arrest people and say that they're being violent no matter what. Cops can show up to usually when cops show up to a peaceful protest is when violence starts. But for whatever reason, they didn't do it here. Maybe because it's in a nice neighborhood? Okay, so here they are at Chief Justice Roberts' house. He's a sign that says penis. I don't know if you saw it. It's kind of...
The whole world is watching!
So, and they're getting ready to do more. They're going to go over to Alito, which is what started all this, right? There was a leaked memo from Alito that said that he was going to overturn abortion, right? I think that's what it was. Anyway, they're going to his house next on May 9th. Justice Alito thinks he can take away our rights, but our rights are fundamentally ours. We're showing up to tell him in person. Bands off our bow. That's what they're saying. Bands off, not hands off. They're saying bands off. I don't know if that's as catchy as they think it is.
Yeah, it's not really good.
Hashtag abortion healthcare. Hashtag abortion essential. At first, I wasn't sure if it was a pro-life rally because they were screaming, every life is matters. What were they screaming right at the end? But they were speaking about their lives, not the... It's again, I don't think that's as effective as you think it is. These are bad chants. You should come up with some better chants.
We talk about effective. I mean, I bet Nancy Pelosi's just watching these videos laughing herself all the way to the midterm election.
That's right.
Because she knows that the Democrats have the power in the Senate and the House and in the White House. They could codify Roe v. Wade if they truly wanted to. But instead of that happening, you have all of these protesters going to these judges' houses, and that's not going to do anything. I mean, I don't know what they think it's going to do.
What would work more is if they actually rallied around Nancy Pelosi's house or Chuck Schumer's house or the White House, because those are the people who can codify Roe v. Wade into law right now and guarantee abortion rights, but they won't do it. And so going up to Justice Kavanaugh's house or Justice Alito's house is ridiculous in this situation because the people who have the power to overturn this are the Democrats in Congress right now, and they won't do it. The Democrats could codify Roe versus Wade, ensure every woman access to abortions, and they won't do it. And these people who vote for those Democrats go to a Republican's house, and they want the Republicans to do something for them when the Democrats won't do it. The Democrats won't do it for you, and you're going to a Republican's house. That makes zero fucking sense. Am I wrong about this? I'll be bringing my panel.
No, I was wondering that as well. Like,
does that hit anybody in the head? Weird that I'm protesting a Republican's house instead of the Democrats who actually have the ability to codify this right now. Shouldn't they be at the Democrats' house protesting, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing that this whole propaganda campaign worked so beautifully for the Democrats. I mean, I think this has played out exactly how they wanted it to. Everyone has stopped focusing on inflation or the high gas prices or the world war that's about to erupt in Ukraine, and they're focused on this, and they're not focused on even the Democrats. They're focused on these conservative justices. So,
that's right. It's amazing.
It is. It's amazing.
It's amazing. They're not focused on Joe Biden or the Democrats or inflation or health care or anything except this. And who do they put their ire on? Republicans who aren't in power right now. And so there's a big debate about whether we should be doing this, going to people's houses. Now, here's what Chris Hedges says about it.
Well, that was pushed through by Clinton and Biden, by the way. Biden was instrumental in all of that. So I think the focus is wrong. Don't expect much from the political class because traditionally they respond only when they're frightened. And it's our job to make them frightened. And I said it so often that some of the viewers may have already heard it, but I'll say it again. 1971, tens of thousands of anti-war demonstrators surround the White House. This is in Kissinger's memoirs. As I also say, don't ever buy the book. Kissinger is describing Nixon. He's freaking out. He's got empty city buses all around, ringed around the White House to protect him. And he's looking through the window and going, they're going to break through the barricades and get us. And that's our job. That's where we want people.
So that's what Chris Hedges says. Now, this is how the French deal with their people. Protesters burned cars, set banks on fire in Paris over police brutality bill. Cars were set alight, and the Central Bank of France was hit with a fire missile by its protesters took to city streets to block a security bill that prevents reporters from covering police brutality. That's how the French deal with this shit.
They have a bill to prevent you from covering police brutality.
Yes.
I've heard of that.
This is called the neoliberal elite losing control. So now all they have to do is these crude measures of censorship to control the narrative. That's all they have left. Why? Because their economic programs are decimating working people around the globe. And they're not going to change them. They're not going to change their policies of extraction because that's all because now we're run by banks. And it's a policy of wealth extraction. Right? They don't invest in anything. They don't build anything. They just extract wealth. And now, so what they have left is then crude forms of censorship. And that's what's happening even in France. Here's Bill Kristol says this about protesting. He says, please don't protest at people's homes. Please don't intrude on people attending their houses of worship. Organize politically, but be civically. But be civil civically. So that's not what George Washington said, by the way. I don't know if you know what George Washington said. He said, get a gun and we're going to start shooting these motherfuckers. That's what George Washington, the guy who founded our country. So this idea that I'm just going to leave it there. That's what George Washington did. That's what he did. Okay? I'm not advocating violence by any means. I'm just letting you know what George Washington did. And here's what other people are saying. Hi, I'm one of the guys responsible for the Iraq War. Here's why protesting is wrong. Because that's who this guy is. He's one of the guys' biggest cheerleader for illegal wars in the world. And for torture and for every bad, horrible thing in the world. That's who Bill Kristol is. And this guy says, I'm one of the guys responsible for the Iraq War. Here's why protesting is wrong. Oh, hello, I'm one of the guys who leveled cities across the Middle East. Here to tell you why destroying property is a red line. There's more. Ron Placone says, USA, please don't protest in front of somebody's house, even if they are horrible and insanely powerful. France. We cover houses and shit, and today we're burning down a bank. This part's called Find Out. One has the best healthcare in the world, and the other doesn't. So, and they have healthcare and dental. They have dental in France. Okay, here's yes, you must always have civil unrest protests in a calm, collective, and non-disruptive fashion at all times. Make sure you don't inconvenience anyone, upset anyone, or do anything that would show people that you want fucking change. So the most effective protests are the ones that upset everything, that shut things down, like the truckers in Canada. Those are effective protests when you make it inconvenient for everyone. That people say, I'm trying to get to work. I understand that is unbelievably inconvenient. But when a lot of people can't get to work, that's when we get change. Okay, here's more. Everybody knows when you are protesting for control over your own bodies, you have to do it in the most comfortable and non-disruptive way possible to people who don't respect your worth. Again, the only thing wrong with these protests is they're at the wrong people's houses. They should be at the Democratic politicians' houses who actually could change this today. Protesting is fine, but direct action is divine. I liked it. Here's why protesting people that get a civil service job and magically become millionaires is wrong. That's interesting. Here's what Jen Psaki said. She's President Biden's press secretary. She said, the president of the United States strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest, but that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Judges perform an incredibly important function in our society, and they must be able to do their jobs without concern for their personal safety. Empire File says, incredible important function of eliminating our rights. That's the function they're going to...
They don't have a real problem with even violence. They don't want any protests directed at
them. That's it. That's it.
Like,
yeah. They're fine with people going to these justices' homes, and they'd probably be fine if they did terrible things at these justices' homes. But January 6th was worse than 9/11.
Yeah. Only do the kind of protests that don't work, says the targets of the protests. Liberals in a we are going to protest so peacefully it won't even make the news type of mood this morning, I guess. Sure, we're hemorrhaging human rights all over the place, but history will note that we took the high road and didn't fight back very hard, and love us for our decorum. That's amazing. That's one of the best tweets I've ever seen. Jen Psaki is showing her underlying class solidarity here. That's exactly right. Here's what Marianne Levine says. Schumer. Oh no, I don't care about that. So there anything else that my panel has to say on this topic before we move on?
Maybe take a kickboxing class and have a margarita, and cool it down.
Okay, there you go. You're at the wrong people's houses. You're at there, and by the I don't want to go into this. This doesn't matter.
Just the main takeaway is just get the address right when you.
That's right. I like this one. It says the end of Roe will be Joe Biden's only lasting legacy. People won't remember Manchin or Sinema, but they will remember Joe Biden was president and Democrats controlled Congress when reproductive rights were ripped away and you did nothing to fight back. It was pointed out to me that it breaks federal law to protest outside any building or residence of a judge with the intent of influencing the judge in their duties. This makes me respect these protesters even more. They're willing to put skin in the game for what they believe. Here's my favorite idiots. Maybe you should have thought of that back in 2016 or 2000 when you all claimed both parties are the same and voted third party and allowed Republicans to stack the courts.
I did.
Right now, the Democrats are in power. We voted that they voted for Democrats. I didn't. They voted for Democrats. Democrats are now in complete control of government, and you're still upset about fucking Republicans who aren't in power.
Well, I'm just mad at Susan Sarandon. This is all her fault.
This is all that right. This is a Susan Sarandon tweet.
Didn't they directly allow why are they saying it allowed Republicans to stack the courts? The Democrats allowed that. That
That's
wasn't
exactly right. Yes.
me not voting Democrat that allowed that.
That's exactly right. They didn't fight for their own nominee. They let Barack Obama not seat Merrick Garland because they thought they could use that as leverage to get people to vote for Hillary Clinton, and it didn't work. And they all admit now that they should have fought harder, and they didn't. We're doing live stand-up shows in Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Des Moines, Omaha, Kansas City, Las Vegas, all over the country. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for tickets. And single tickets now available at all venues. So if you tried to buy one before and you couldn't, single tickets are now available. Plus, while you're at jimmydorecomedy.com, why don't you become a premium member? Sign up to our mailing list so when they cancel us, we can still stay in touch.